So with the rapid pace of change and you still wrapping your mind around what all of this means and considering by your own admission, like the power user of this, how do you get the marketplace to catch up? We know if you were going to market with something like DeNexus 10 years ago, you could count on the fact that your buyers would do about half of the research before a sales conversation. They would ask their peers for advice on LinkedIn. They would do Google searches. They would look things up on their phone. They'd watch YouTube videos, go to webinars. You have all of that, but then now for the past 2, 3, 4 years, especially IT professionals and engineers, they love generative AI. They're having these deep conversations with Claude and Copilot and ChatGPT and Gemini that rival the kind of conversations that they would have had from a human on your sales team a couple of years ago. So how do you think about buyer education? What do you hope that a potential client, that a prospect knows about your category before they meet with someone from your sales team for the first time?
Before I try to answer the question, let me take a step back. I think that a lot of people in the market belongs to the group that you have described, but we are still finding other group that is less savvy around these tools and probably less inclined to use them in daily basis. And not, in my case, not because they don't want to, but because they have regulatory limitations, compliance limitations to use it. And I'm referring to the insurance industry. At DeNexus, we work both with, I call it the risk owners, the owners of the underlying industrial facilities, data centers, power plants, manufacturing, etc. And we work also with the insurance industry. The insurance industry is heavily regulated, and they are having a complex time to evolve or to adopt these AI-driven solutions to meet different use cases. That has changed dramatically also in the last 12 months. I found year and a half, 2 years ago, really low to no reception to that conversation in the insurance industry. And now certainly there are tailwinds. But going from tailwinds and welcoming the conversation to use these type of tools to perform different tasks at the pilot level is one challenge. Scaling from pilot to full enterprise use and implementation and adoption is a totally different challenge. And I think that we are somewhere in between with those, with that industry in that process of adopting the use of this technology. Plus, don't forget that they write the risk, and they need to understand the risk that they are writing. And AI sometimes is facilitating that task, sometimes is making it more difficult because it's changing the landscape as we speak.
So does it, a lot of this comes down to client centricity, understanding where they are, and even if they're 3 to 5 years earlier than you want them to be, is it entering those conversations that are 2, 3, 4 steps ahead of where you know they inevitably will be with how they look at operational technology?
Absolutely, and that is part of the discovery process, and it's a combination of making sure that you understand your audience, making sure that you adapt your pitch to that audience, and at the same time being prepared to provide education and to understand also the limitations that they have to adopt the technology that may eventually solve the problem or they need, but they are not, as an industry, prepared to adopt yet. Again, not because they don't want to or because they don't have the skills or the knowledge to do it, but because they need to deal with other layers of complexity, in this case, regulation, that in sometimes is letting or not them do certain things, and sometimes is evolving as the AI landscape is evolving. The regulatory bodies are trying to keep up with that evolution as well.
Jose,